Meeting to order. I would make an announcement before we start here and before roll call. I'd like to address the article that was posted on the West Central Tribune's website regarding Kansas County's upcoming meeting. And they posted that the city of Willmar had sent a letter to Kansas County requesting that the two parties explore options with building projects. City of Willmar has not sent any letter to the county. West Central Tribune did post a correction after being notified from the county administrator of incorrect reporting. So that's it. We'll go on to roll call.
Councilmember Osk.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Schultes.
Here.
Fagerly.
Here.
Osmus.
Here.
Butterfield.
Here.
And O'Brien.
Here.
9 present, no absent.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Proposed additions or deletions to the agenda? Justin.
I'd like to offer a motion for an amended agenda. If we can add, I'd like staff to give us a quick update on Benson Avenue and the water issues that I know they've been dealing with over there. If maybe we could add that to the start of our regular business, the first item under 10.
That was before the GO bonds,
That would be my preference, but
okay? Well, I need a motion to approve the agenda as amended,
I'll move.
Second.
okay? We got a motion, and we got a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Nelson.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Schultes.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
And Osk.
Aye.
8 yeses, 0 nos.
Motion passes. We'll go on to the consent items and call on our city clerk, Verne Larson.
Mayor Reese, council members, for tonight's consideration, we have the city council minutes of May 20, 2024, the Willmar Municipal Utilities Commission meeting minutes of May 28, 2024, the Willmar Municipal Utilities Commission special meeting minutes of May 20th, 2024, the transfer of the FFA non-primary entitlements funds, the authorizing the purchase of 3 squad cars for the Willmar Police Department, accounts payable report from 5/16 through 5/29, and for your information, a police commission appointment.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Discussion?
Can I pull G just for a small correction?
Okay.
On the action request, the spelling on Chris Rosendahl is, it should be Rosendahl. There's missing an S all the way through, but on her application, it is correct. But just to make sure that we have that as Rosendahl. Otherwise, I would add that to approve.
Well, we've got a motion and we got a second and we have a correction. So with that correction, is it proper for us to pass the motion with the correction.
It's information tonight only, so it's just the passing of the approval will be next council meeting. And we will make sure it's all corrected then.
Perfect.
All right, but we still have to take a roll call.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Schultes,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Osk,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes. Motion passes.
Next is the open forum, but I didn't have anybody signed up, so we'll go on to the public hearing. Consideration to zone parcel 95-280-2480 from R2 to GB. Christopher Corbett, Planning Development Director.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. For your consideration today is the item to rezone Waltz at 1125 3rd Street Southwest. I first briefed you all on this on May 6th. Currently, the parcel is zoned for residential or R2, which is 1 or 2 dwelling family residential. The request is to rezone it to general business. It would need a conditional use permit, and so this item probably will come back to Planning Commission, but not before City Council again. For the structure, they're looking to build a storage garage, and I'll talk about the timeline as well. So just for your reference, this is a view of the parcel. If you can remember, there was a yellow house here, and this is at 3rd Street and Royce. And this is another view going toward or looking east at 1st Street from 3rd and Royce. And so Planning Commission recommend to rezone the parcel. That was done on April 17th. And we took a look at the map, our zoning map here, as you can see. The yellow box or yellow rectangle south of the map is the subject parcel, and all around it is general business. And so we have a parcel similar to this, probably 3 streets up. If you'll take a look at a red rectangle box at the top of the map, that too, it kind of curves over the zoning for general business. And so we feel like it is aligned with uses around this subject matter as well, or the subject area. And so for today, I'm looking for a motion to approve the ordinance authorizing the rezoning of the parcel 95280-2480 from residential to general business, and a motion to authorize the publication of the ordinance authorizing the rezoning of parcel 95280-2480 from residential to general business.
So moved.
Second.
I should open the public hearing.
Oh,
Yes.
I should open the public hearing first, and then we'll take your motion. So I'll open the public hearing. Anybody here to speak to this? I know it was a formality, but nobody to speak. We'll close the public hearing. Now, Julie.
so moved.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and we got a second discussion.
Mayor, I just want to remind council that it does take 6 votes to approve an ordinance. So we need 6 yes votes to approve the ordinance.
All right? Audrey?
Thank you, Mayor Reese. I know I asked this question before, and I know it's going to come back to us, but drove by there again today and just concerned about the setback. Is there a different setback required in general business than on the, so that, I think we talked about this last time with where it can be how close it can be located. Is that different in general business than the R2?
Yep. Councilmember Nelson, it is different from residential. The residential setbacks are 30, 30, 10, and 10. And considering this, this lot size, it falls right under are 10,000 square foot minimum for general business. And so those setbacks would look something similar to a 10, 10, and 25. And so we can, and Matt is here as well from Waltz, but this will come back before Planning Commission, but not City Council. We did receive during Planning Commission a concern about a new structure fitting into the block onto Third Street. And so with that into consideration, I think we can adjust the setbacks where it's aligned with the homes on the block as well.
I was noticing that the neighbor has a fence, and I know, because I've checked for myself, you can have a 7-foot fence to the front of your house, and then it has to go down, and they've already done that. And it certainly would feel like that this needs a setback to be equal to that.
Okay. I'll definitely take that into consideration and pass that along to planning commissioners.
Anything else, Christopher?
So that's all.
Well, I'll call for a roll call then.
Councilmember Schultes,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
O'Brien, Osk,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
and Davis.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
Motion passes. I need a motion to approve the publication by summary.
So move.
Second. We got a motion and a second. Discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Fagerly,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Osk,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
and Davis,
Aye.
and Schultes.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
That passes. Next is the update that Justin requested on Benson Avenue. Who's going to handle that? Okay.
I can speak to that, Mr. Mayor.
All right,
So-
Justin, thank
Okay.
you.
Good evening, everyone. As I mentioned previously in my last report, that we have been in contact with Mr. Butler here over the last couple of months. And quite honestly, we are all stumped, I would say. It's clear that Jason is having major backups in the building's basement. I was talking to him today. There's mud and silt, and it's bad. It's pushing through somewhere. That being said, on the city's end, in March, we had the storm line flushed. We had it televised. The main, I should clarify the main. No issues, no blockages, no sediment in the main. We looked back on footage of the sanitary smoke testing that they did there, looking for cross connections. Everything came back clear there. So we're really stumped as far as what's going on with this issue. The mains are clear. Last week, the municipal utilities did some exploratory digging because they have a sump pump in a vault right on the property. And they fixed a pipe that their sump pump was pushing into. They redirected it and forced it out to the main. We were hoping that would maybe make a difference, but then last night and this morning, Mr. Butler had a bigger mess even. And so, like I said, we are really stumped. I told Jason today that the Public Works Department would come later this week or next week. We're going to remove some sidewalk panels and try and do some exploratory digging of our own, just to see if we can come up with what is going on here. Insurance has been involved through the utility side. I don't think the city, our side, we haven't not filed any claims yet. But
We had the League of Minnesota Cities.
League of Minnesota Cities on behalf of the utilities, but obviously they would be our insurance too. So are there any specific questions that I can answer from anyone?
Justin.
Yeah, I'm curious. So, can you explain a little bit more? Like utilities, they have a sump pump in that area. Where was that pumping water to?
It was pumping water into an abandoned sewer, what we believe is an abandoned sewer service, sanitary sewer service. They ran the camera up that service and they ran into gravel and dirt and debris. So we came to the conclusion that it's abandoned because if it was still in use, somebody would be having some major backup issues, and we haven't heard of anything.
So, over the years, for quite a few years, they've been pumping water through an abandoned line.
Correct. I
Which
believe
could have some
91
issue.
was the,
Okay.
when those vaults or that sump pump system was installed.
Okay.
Tom?
Now, Mr. Butler brought up city council about the road might be in trouble there on Benson Avenue. Mm-hmm. Is that fine? Is it fine for people to drive on it, or?
Well, it's impossible to know without either tearing up the road or doing, Jared can maybe help me, some kind of sonic testing like that. I don't know the details behind it. When the utilities dug up last week, I don't believe they found any voids. Right, and, yep, but that's where we're gonna remove some of those sidewalk panels and maybe a section of curb and see what we can find as far as voids.
Okay.
So,
Yes, Audrey.
When we talked about this before, the building next to it had expressed a concern also, and did you go and check that out? Or are there similar problems in the buildings next to this property?
I have not been in the buildings next to it. I don't believe they have had the extent that this particular building has had.
Are you talking about the one to the west?
The one on the corner?
Paul's?
Kidorowski.
Oh, Paul Kidrell, one
Yeah.
to the east, no, okay.
No.
Wasn't he here and expressing concerns
Mhm.
also?
Yep,
But he doesn't have the same situation
No.
that you're aware of?
no. He expressed concern about water bubbling up through the road and through the concrete. And outside, correct, yep. He did have his storm supply line, I believe, was replaced in 2015 by himself at that building, so that maybe corrected some of the issues, but we're gonna keep looking into, like I said, those couple of sidewalk panels, and maybe we'll find something. It's a tough balance because I understand, and I've talked with Jason many times, and we've been very cordial, and I know he's frustrated, and it's a bad deal. But at the same time, on our end, our mains are good. We're trying to find that balance of working everything out.
You know, I remember when I worked for the city in the engineering department eons ago, looking at the downtown properties and what soil conditions were like when this city was built, downtown was built. And there were multiple sloughs that were drained and filled. And the lay of the land in Willmar and surrounding is so flat that we can't get rid of the water. And that is a problem that we've been fighting for years.
Yep, for sure. In fact, I'm looking through, or I'm trying to gather up our oldest plans that we have of the downtown and specifically Benson Avenue. Hey, what did it look like? What kind of pipes were in the ground? Is there an abandoned pipe somewhere that we're just not aware of, that's not on our current maps, that is leading to this? But right now, we're stumped, for lack of better words.
Well, I think that those conditions have been brought about by some of the inability to get rid of water. You know, we've got the Hawk Creek watershed, and then we've got the Grass Lake feed. That's it. And when you go through downtown, that goes down to cash-wise, out the ditch, out to Grass Lake, and to Waganda. Waganda is what, 7 inches drop from
It's
Willmar?
not much.
I mean, you can't move water that way.
Yep.
You don't have enough grade to move it. So I sympathize, but some of this is a problem that we've been fighting for years. So, Justin,
I'm just wondering, so the utilities was pumping into an abandoned line. Where is
Correct.
that being pumped to now from that sump pump?
They're pumping into that same line. They redirected it, like I said, it was pointing one way, they pointed it out, they put a Y, I believe, on there. But that's another discussion that we should have with them, and I've spoken with Administrator Valiant about that, whether we just make them dig a brand-new line out to the storm like we would anyone else.
Because they're pumping into a sewer line right now?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. So at least Mr. Butler and other business owners who downtown who might have issues with this, they're just kind of in a wait and see right now.
Yeah, I mean, yes, we are trying, and like I said, when we had a sewer call on Friday night, for instance, and it was on the complete opposite end of town, the south end, and unfortunately, the homeowner was getting sewage back up. We went out and we flushed the main line, and it was completely clean. So we're trying to, like I said, it's that balancing act, what we do for some people, what are we gonna do for other owners, property owners? How far do we get into this? Before it's a shared responsibility, and if council would like us to go a different direction, that, let me know.
I appreciate.
But I mean, I don't know that digging up a block worth is feasible and financially responsible, but we're trying to
Yeah.
walk that line.
It seems like you're attentive to the issue and you're looking for, it's small steps to continue the investigation and see what we find
Correct.
underneath sidewalks. I guess my only other question would be, is the Utilities Commission aware of this as well? Are they having discussions?
I do not know about the
responsibilities
commission.
here?
I know that Mr. Herron is, their line supervisor, Ed Zern, is very aware. I don't know what kind of dialogue has happened with the commission.
Okay.
the fact that it's in the sanitary sewer bothers me, but I think we've probably got a lot of older buildings in downtown Willmar that have similar,
There probably are, but
Situations.
at this, yeah, you're probably correct, but we should correct that, because we wouldn't, unless without a special permit, we would not let other people do it.
right,
Yep.
yeah, that was my point.
Yep.
Yeah. So, anything else? All right, well, thank you for the update. You okay? Okay, all right. All right, thank you. We'll move on to the consideration of awarding sale of GO bonds, Series 2024A. And Doug Green from Baker Tilly is here, and I'll turn it over to you, Doug, right now.
All right, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, good evening. Second to pull up the presentation. And I believe you also have some additional documents, hard copies in front of you as well.
Yep.
So this morning at 10 o'clock, we did take bids on behalf of the city. We went out to bid for part amount of $10,610,000. Had a successful sale. It's not the best interest rate market. A lot of supply out there as well as a lot of people throughout the country are borrowing for projects. That poses a challenge, but nonetheless, we still had a very good showing, 5 bids. The winning bid is that TIC, true interest cost, that takes into account all the pricing, the coupons, the yields, the fee that they pay themselves to purchase the bonds and resell them. That came out at a true interest cost of 3.86. You can kind of consider that a somewhat of a weighted average interest rate over the 15-year repayment. That's right around what we were expecting about a month ago. Very, very little change. So how does that compare to years past, going back to 18? You do have to take into consideration the maturity, the length of that, of the bond. So not necessarily comparing apples to apples, but those with those other street projects where the average maturity is around 9 years. You've seen the past 3 years, we've been in that 3% range. During the pandemic, we were down there in the 1% range when we were selling the sales tax bonds. So your total debt portfolio, you really have to look at it, average it all together. So like almost every sale, unless we sell different types of bonds, taxable or something, we'll have a premium bid. Probably heard this many times before. So what happens is we give them flexibility in the way that the underwriters bid it to make sure that they can turn around and sell it to their investors. So you see they bid more than 100% of asking price. We take that premium, that $495,000. We do this with each sale. We take that, put it into the construction fund, and reduce the par amount of the bond. So the same amount goes into the same amount is available for construction, whether they bid at par or at a premium. In the end, it does change where the interest and principal is paid, but on an overall basis, there's virtually no change to the total debt service payments as a result of the premium bid. So how does this work out in terms of annual payments? Broke it out between streets. Obviously, as you know, the 13th Street project is the largest one. That top table is the net levy, so that's after assessments, taking into account assessments. So the average annual debt service, average annual net levy after assessments is around $337,000 per year for the next 15 years. The sanitary sewer portion of that, again, is primarily the 13th Street project, and around $130,000, and then the equipment is paid off over 5 years, and it combined $250,000. With each bond sale, we did have a credit rating, and it went very well. The credit rating was affirmed at AA3, so it's very high grade credit. It's just some of the highlights of his very strong financial position. You being a regional economic center certainly helps. The challenges is very similar to other cities throughout Minnesota, simply because that's the way that we finance infrastructure projects, is through the issuance of bonds. So compared to the rest of the country, we do have what they call elevated leverage, elevated debt, and economic growth trails of the nation. I wouldn't take that personally. That's because you're in a more rural area. Again, you're being compared to primarily metropolitan issuers, and that growth, the way they calculate it, tends to be a little bit higher. So the factors that could lead to an upgrade or downgrade, somewhat interesting, but to be honest, they're not overly relevant, because it would take a massive change in the city's financial position, both in terms of your fund balance, cash balance, and debt leverage to get outside of one of these. So firmly in that AA3 category. So all in all, a good sale in a challenging environment. Don't know, I would say we're no plans right now, no plans to issue bonds the rest of the year. We'll probably be in a similar interest rate environment just throughout the remaining part of 2024. Then, after that, it's anyone's guess, really, with whether we have a recession or election and everything else. A lot of unknowns out there, but so be happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion to award the sale of the GO bonds. Yes, Audrey.
Just a clarification, so the amount is not 10,610, it's 10,000, or 10,080,000.
That's correct. Thank you for that clarification. And that is because of the premium, which I discussed.
Yes.
Right. So the original, the original resolution in your packet had that higher amount. The revised resolution after the bids were received and after repricing the bonds is that lower amount of 10,080,000?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. I can make that motion at the lower amount, 10,080,000.
All right, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Osk,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Schultes,
Aye.
and Fagerly.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
Motion passes. Next, I need a motion to approve the resolution to fund public safety aid monies as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Discussion. Being none, roll call.
Just a minute, Mayor Reese. I'm sorry, we won't be acting on that. That was a typo on my part, to add that line to your note
Okay,
for that motion.
so we don't need the motion, they approve the
That's correct.
resolution? All right. Do we have to withdraw that?
Nobody made the motion.
They did make the motion.
Oh, they did. Yes,
Yeah, I think Rick made the motion, Julie seconded, so
okay.
you rescind those actions, right? Thank you. All right. Next is annual stormwater presentation, and Sarah Seatsma is here to review it with us. Hi, Sarah.
I am. Good evening, Mayor and council members. This is my favorite meeting of the year because I get to do a stormwater update for all of you. I'll go over what we did last year and then a little bit also of what we've already been up to this spring too. So first, a couple of refreshers for anybody that might be tuning into this presentation. What is stormwater? Stormwater is simply the rainwater and the snowmelt that lands on and flows over impermeable surfaces. So those surfaces that water cannot soak into. The water travels down storm drains and into lakes and rivers. We say MS4 a lot when we talk about stormwater. MS4 stands for Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. The MS4 stormwater program is designed to reduce the amount of sediment and pollutants that enter surface water and groundwater from storm sewer systems. Willmar is subject to stormwater regulations under the Clean Water Act and Minnesota rules. We have coverage under the MS4 general permit, and therefore we are required to reduce the amount of sediment and pollutants in stormwater to the maximum extent practicable. It's important, I think, to point out that the stormwater conveyance system and the wastewater conveyance system are completely separate. So the wastewater flows to the wastewater treatment facility where pollutants are removed, and then the cleaned water is released to the river. Stormwater is not treated. There is a litany of pollutants that are common to stormwater, as you can see here. Many of these are very difficult to remove once they get in the water, and virtually all of them are a result of human activities. As a city, we are utilizing best practices to reduce the pollutants entering stormwater from municipal activities. We are also engaging with our residents and our business owners through our education campaign to offer solutions and influence behaviors in ways that can improve stormwater quality. Our efforts fall under the 6 categories of our stormwater pollution prevention plan. Here, they're directed by the MS4 general permit. So I'll highlight the efforts that we have been up to again over the past year, a little bit from this spring for each of these categories. Public education and outreach. So we have a robust educational program that focuses on these 6 topics. We share information extensively on both the city website and social media platforms. Last year, the department's Facebook page logged 23.3 thousand impressions. We supply these bone-shaped little pet waste reminder cards, both to the Hot Creek Animal Shelter and then also to some of the banks and the coffee shops that have drive-through windows. And 4 of our core education messages are now available and shared in Spanish, Somali, Hmong, and Karen. Public participation and involvement. So each year we get to be part of an open house or a community event where we can share stormwater education with our residents. This year was the Healthy Earth, Healthy Kids event in April. That was a really fun, wonderfully planned event with more than 400 attendees. We also continued our rain barrel sale. We will continue that again this year. It's expected that our rain barrels will be here sometime by the end of June. So residents that are interested in purchasing a rain barrel at a discounted price can watch the Facebook page and the city website for those announcements. And then the annual stormwater presentation is available all the time online, and my contact information is there if residents have questions or suggestions.
Sarah, are those plastic rain barrels?
Yes, they are.
What do they, what was the cost last year?
The wholesale cost on them was $68, which should be the same this year. Shipping actually didn't go up, so should be the same cost.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Illicit discharge detection and elimination. So another one of those stormwater terms. An illicit discharge is simply a discharge to the storm sewer system that is not either rainwater or snowmelt. So frequent violators include trash, grass clippings, other yard waste, stockpiles located in the curb line, and people dumping various things directly down the storm drains. This is an area of the MS4 program that staff have been spending additional time on this year. As required by the permit, we have several ordinances already in place. And we have written procedures for responding to reports of illicit discharge or spills. All of our field staff have been trained now in illicit discharge detection, which includes wastewater, parks and rec, public works, building inspectors, fire, and police. And we've developed tools for our field staff to use if they notice an illicit discharge. So we have a door hanger that addresses grass clippings and other yard waste, and we have a separate door hanger that addresses other stormwater pollutants like sediment from construction activities, leaking dumpsters, excess salt use, concrete slurry or wash water, any other pollutants such as that. Next is construction site stormwater runoff control. Whereas the city engineering department staff used to conduct inspections on all the construction projects in the city, inspections are now being completed by a combination of other city staff and Bolton and Manx staff. So projects that disturb at least 1 acre of land must submit a stormwater pollution prevention plan, which is reviewed by the city engineer. Site inspections are completed by and documented by Bolton and Manx staff. For projects that are under 1 acre, those are typically residential type projects. They do not submit a SWIP, but they do have to implement erosion and sediment controls. And site inspections for those projects are currently being handled by city staff from other departments. Post-construction stormwater management. So permanent stormwater BMPs are required for those projects that are at least 1 acre or greater. Those are often stormwater ponds, and those plans are reviewed by our city engineer as well. The city is required to have a maintenance agreement with the landowner or the project owner on record because the city does not complete the maintenance on those private ponds. This is another area that staff has been focusing on this spring to update our mapped inventory of those private stormwater BMPs because that was a permit item that staff identified as needing some improvement. And that brings us to the final area of our stormwater program, pollution prevention and good housekeeping. Stick with me because this one covers a lot. One of the most important efforts that the city is doing to reduce both sediment and nutrients in stormwater is street sweeping. So Public Works operates 2 mechanical broom sweepers during the spring, summer, and fall. It's one of the most cost-effective BMPs for reducing phosphorus in stormwater. Each year, we remove 4,000 to 5,000 cubic yards of material. which ends up being almost 23,000 tons of sediment and well over 1,000 pounds of phosphorus. So street sweeping not only protects the water quality of our lakes and rivers, it also protects the city's collection system. So if staff are spending time conducting street sweeping, we are going to save staff time on cleaning the collection system. We might be reducing the storm drain clogging and protecting the capacity of the conveyance system, which of course is important, especially during rain events. The other major stormwater pollutant the city is continually working to reduce is chloride. Once chloride is in surface and groundwater, it's extremely expensive to remove it. So to ensure we are providing the highest level of winter maintenance service and reducing our chloride pollution, all of our public works operators are Smart Salt certified by the state. We are also able to apply brine instead of regular granular rock salt with 7 of the city's plow trucks. Brine works faster, it stays in place, it uses significantly less salt, and it still maintains that level of safety that we're after. Lowering salt use protects water quality, and it's also good for the city's infrastructure. One of the main good housekeeping permit requirements is maintaining an accurate inventory of our storm sewer system. This was an area that we needed to correct some deficiencies in, and Public Works staff has been doing the heavy lifting to gather all of the data that allows us to update our mapped inventory. So there are 5 stockpile locations, 10 structural stormwater BMPs, 14 snow storage locations, 36 ponds, and more than 200 outfalls. The map that's shown here on the slide is the work in progress version because the staff are still out in the field gathering that data of all of those locations. And finally, it's not as simple as just mapping all of those components of our storm sewer system. We have to inspect the components of the system on a regular timeline also. So the structural BMPs must be inspected annually. The outfalls and city-owned ponds must be inspected once every 5-year permit cycle. We're in the middle of year 4 of the current 5-year permit cycle. In the past, again, all of these inspections were performed by internal engineering staff, and with those staff positions being vacant for a few years, this became another area that we needed to spend additional staff resources to get the city back on track. And once again, Public Works made themselves available to complete these inspections. It's a very labor-intensive permit requirement. I don't know that that's the long-term solution, and they really stepped up to the plate right now for us. So these pictures on this slide are from this spring, when they were out doing inspections. Based on the inspections, staff will be putting together a list of outfalls and other conveyance system areas that require maintenance. It's possible you might see an update on that again later this year. The MS4 permit requires us to complete identified necessary maintenance within 1 year or develop a schedule if the maintenance cannot be completed within 1 year. So we've got some work to do as far as the maintenance is concerned too. And that's all I have for you tonight.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Any questions for Sarah?
I got a question.
Yes, Mike?
I may have asked you about this before. Where I live is on Country Club Drive on the corner of 19th Avenue. 19th Street, excuse me. We get a lot of runoff in those storm drains. I belong to the Lakes Association, and we've talked numerous times about the possibility of rerouting that stormwater into that wetland that sits up on the north side. I understand we have to have a pond to have the water settle first before we release it into the wetland and then release from the wetland to the lake.
That would definitely be a question for an engineer that knows those requirements.
Okay.
But that does not sound like it would be out of the norm for recommendations.
Okay.
Protecting a surface water like a wetland, yeah,
All right.
that would make sense.
All right, thank you.
All right, Audrey?
Yeah. Have you thought about, or maybe you've done it already, doing a video on how not to mow your lawn?
We,
Well, it's frustrating.
Yes.
And literally this week on the street that I live on, I mean, somebody mowed the grass into the street and then very nicely used the blower and blew it to the middle of the street, like they had solved the problem kind of thing. And it sort of is like, okay, that's not really what
Right.
needs to be done because it's going to end up back. And obviously, a street sweeper isn't going to get it on the side of if it's in the middle of the street either.
right.
And so I'm just curious with when you see something like that, or how do we educate people to not put it into the, and it's hard, I mean, it's hard sometimes to keep it out of there, but I'm just curious.
We do address it in our education campaign, so the messages that we're sharing on Facebook and the other social media platforms, we do address best practices of mowing your lawn, and definitely mow in is one of them, and not blowing your grass clippings in the street. The city passed an ordinance, I think 2 years ago, maybe now, so grass clippings intentionally blown in the street and leaves and other yard waste intentionally blown into the curb line is against city ordinance. We do generally take the approach of education. So that is why we wanted to have these really easy door hangers for, in our street garage staff or any who are out, our building inspectors have them, all of kind of our field staff have them available. If they don't want to have that conversation with the resident or the lawn care company, they can just leave this, so they get that. If it's a repeat, maybe business owner or repeat landowner that we can have a further conversation with, that's what we typically do every time. It is mostly that people just don't understand, that they're just doing it the same way they've always done it. Maybe their parents didn't correct them if they're, one of the younger kids that's just learning how to mow lawn, whatever it might be. And so education seems to be well received in those situations for the most part. It is a matter of being able to kind of have those interactions when they happen.
Thank you.
Justin?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. You said that 7 of the trucks are using brine. How many trucks are using the rock salt?
That's a grand question. Justin, do you know how many plow trucks we have right now? 11.
Okay. And so it's just a matter of those older trucks that we're replacing, I'm assuming? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Rick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Sarah, for a good report again. Now, we've got 2 street sweepers. Which one is more efficient?
They're both the same kind. So there are multiple types of street sweepers. Both of ours are mechanical broom, which is kind of the best of both worlds because mechanical broom are great at picking up the wet, like leaves and grass clippings and stuff in the spring especially. Regenerative air might be a great one too for getting more fine particles, but it doesn't do as well on the larger yard waste type of stuff. So if you're going to have 2, I would say the 2 we have would be great ones to have. They're not cheap pieces of equipment for sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. All right. We'll go on to call on Eric Rundigan, Airport Manager, in regards to negotiation of a contract for professional services with Bolton and Mink.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Thanks for giving me a few minutes this evening. One of the requirements that we have to stay in the good graces of the FAA and MnDOT for our funding is a contract with a consulting engineering firm. Currently, that contract's with Bolton and Mink, and the FAA would like us to have submittals for qualifications every 5 years. Now, some of you might notice that we're well beyond 5 years since the last time we've done this. The exception that we get is if we've got a project that's outstanding, we are able to forego the request for qualifications while that project is outstanding. So our outstanding project is from 2018, an airport master plan, and we're still waiting for the FAA to approve that airport master plan. Due to several things beyond our control, including staff changes at the FAA and funding and things like that, that we won't get into tonight. However, last winter during our CIP meetings, our capital improvement plan meetings, where the FAA kind of approves in theory our plans moving forward, they said, you haven't done an RFQ for consulting engineers for quite a while. I said that's because of our airport master plan, and we said we understand that, but you really probably ought to do it. And so in an effort to stay in the good graces with the FAA, the Airport Commission was already on top of this. We had been discussing it, they had been discussing it for several months, and so we were able to move quickly through the process. We received 2 submittals that were included in your packet. A selection committee that included Mr. Box, Councilmember Scholz, a couple of airport commissioners, John Hafner and Arnold Plowman. Arnie is currently the board chair of the Airport Commission, and myself ranked the submittals and then had a lengthy discussion kind of beyond just the ranking of how we felt the city's needs would best be met by these consultants. And at the end of the evening, we came up with a recommendation for continuing with Bolton and Mink. So at this point, the request is to authorize city staff to begin negotiating and enter into a contract with Bolton and Mink for management and consulting engineering services. And we would ask any questions first before we move forward.
Anybody got questions for Eric? So do we need a motion for you to?
Yeah, we would request a motion to authorize staff to move forward with the negotiations. That's kind of a step in that FAA process. So as they say, did we do our consulting engineer selection properly? We can say these are the steps we took to ensure fairness and openness in this process.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
The motion is to authorize Eric,
Yeah, and it would be Leslie and Kyle, yep.
okay?
Yep.
To negotiate a contract for professional services with Bolton and Minkin for airport engineering and planning services, okay?
Correct. Yep.
So that's our motion. Any discussion? Rick?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. What kind of budget are you thinking you're gonna need?
So this is a crazy thing that I'm going to say, but one of the specific items in the advisory circular for selecting the consulting engineers is that cost of the engineering services cannot be the sole or even a part of the choosing of the engineer. So they want the engineering services to be chosen based on qualifications and abilities, and then the negotiated price comes after. And part of that is because for this particular engineering contract, Bolton and Mink will only be paid while they're working on projects for the airport. And so those could be projects, local projects, which we've done a few of, but typically those are the big federal and state participatory projects. Those engineering costs are included in the cost share, and so the FAA has a say in what that is. So it's really based on how much work will be done in the next 5 years. Now, without belaboring the point too much, if we go back, say, to 2012, when we were having issues with our eligibility with the FAA, having the consulting engineers, which at that time Bolton and Mink was selected as well, knowing that the first thing that had to happen was we had to get back on the front side of this grant assurances program. And so that was a risk certainly for them at that point because they're really only paid while they're working on those projects. So it's really hard to tell. It would be based on how much funding we are eligible for, how many justifiable projects we have, and then how much actually gets done over the next 5 years. So.
Thank you.
All right, any other, Audrey?
That actually comes back to us when you get.
Yeah, the final agreement will require council approval as well. Yep.
Anybody else? All right, we've got a motion to allow for the negotiation of a contract for professional services. Roll call.
Councilmember Butterfield,
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Osk,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Schultes,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
and Osmus.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
That passes. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
All right, next is new policies for classification plan, compensation plan, and administration of the compensation plan. Luann?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Sorry for the long title. But as you remember, back in December, on the 9th of December council meeting, we you guys approved a citywide base pay schedule. And since that time, we've been working with different union groups to get as many people on this base pay schedule as possible. And part of that process is developing policies to administer the classification process, how that's going to happen going forward on that new base pay schedule, the compensation plan, and then also the administration of that. So what happens when there's a promotion or a demotion or reclassification. In your packet, you'll find all of those policies. They're brand new. And then as a part of that too, there in your packet, you saw there's 2 policies that we're replacing with these new ones. So they will be strikeouts. So we'll be no longer having those because they're covered under the new policies. And there's also an appeals process form that people can use if they have questions or want to have their classification looked at further. So I'm just asking for approval of those policies this evening.
All right. We need a motion. Luann said,
So moved.
okay, we got a motion,
Second.
got a second, discussion, questions? Roll call.
Councilmember O'Brien. Osk.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Schultes.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
And Butterfield.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
That passes. Thank you, Luann.
There are 2 motions.
Yeah.
There are 2. There are 2. There are 2, yeah, there are, on the car. One is to revoke the working class, the 2. One to revoke the 2 policies that we currently have, and then one to enact the classification, the compensation, and the administration.
Sorry. One for the new policies and one to revoke the policies that are being replaced.
Okay, this was the new policy that we,
Yep.
Make a motion to revoke the old one.
Second.
okay, we got a motion and a second to revoke the past policy. Audrey?
I thought we were doing it the way it was on here. I thought we were revoking first. And so I had a question on just their new policies, but there's like crossouts and things in them.
In the new policies?
Yes.
There shouldn't be. They were brand new policies.
Well, there's strikeouts and additions in the classification policies.
Those are just,
Might have been edits that we were making as we were developing the
Yep.
policy.
Okay.
Yep, sorry about that. You need a clean copy. Thank you.
clean copy on there.
Okay, we still have to have a roll call on the old policy.
Yes, to
So,
revoke the
roll
old
call.
policies.
Councilmember Osk.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Schultes.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Osmus.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
And O'Brien. 8 ayes, 0 noes.
All right, that passes. Now for a real serious subject, it's gonna just really be tough. How many of you council members would like to join in the parade on the 22nd?
Well, you want that right now, or do you want to finish your business first? We got one more thing.
We do.
Yeah.
What did I miss?
Consideration to approve professional services with Bolton and Mink. I think Jared wants some more money.
I'm just in a hurry.
I get it.
Okay,
It's been a long day.
go ahead, Leslie.
So, yes, tonight I'd like to ask that the council approve the professional services with Bolton Mink for the outdoor rink pavilion for $164,000, $493. This is part of the process of getting the design, schematics, and the construction plans together for bidding for the outdoor covered rink proposal. I'll stand for any questions.
So I need a motion to approve the professional services agreement with Bolton and Mink.
So move.
Second.
Okay, you got a motion and a second discussion. Tom?
Are anybody from the loss going to be involved on this, with their ideas on that or anything?
We certainly could, but this will be pretty much what they had, it'll look similar to what has already been proposed.
Okay. Well, I can just make a phone call and Rob and see, what, because I've seen
So-
his names on there. I know he's been in talk with Matt Dawson and the other people.
Yeah, they'll be looking at it.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? Roll call.
Councilmember Nelson.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Schultes.
All right.
Baggerly,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
O'Brien, and Osk.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
That passes. Thank you, Leslie.
You're welcome.
Now, back to this serious point of parade. Who wants to ride in the parade? Boy,
I'll be working.
I don't mind doing it, but when there's only so few of us that show up, it's kind of uncomfortable that we have half the council or less, so I'm fine if we don't also.
I'll be there. I've enjoyed it in the past.
I'm available.
I can be there.
This Saturday?
No, it's the 22nd of June.
I think I'll probably be able to be there.
How's your candy arm?
Yeah, right.
Left-handed.
Can't throw,
Important question.
no, you can't throw candy.
Never do.
How about we didn't hear from everybody,
So
so
who do we have? We had Carl.
I will if there's.
Justin.
Do it.
Okay, Monday,
And Audrey,
Rick,
Vicky,
Thursday.
Rick brings his own.
who else?
It's everyone from this side, at least.
You're gonna be there? Julie? Rick?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Okay.
What are we riding?
The 22nd,
Trailer again?
Saturday.
we'll bring a ladder. It's hard to get on.
Wilmerfest.
It is.
Yeah,
Tom is working. Mike, are you gonna,
yeah, my day off that week is Tuesday, but I'll end up being.
are you gonna be in on it, Mike?
Is that a yes or a no?
I'll have to wait and see, because I think I'm gonna be in North Dakota. That's a
Okay.
long ways off.
Okay,
Horses this year.
Yeah.
so who's arranging it? Dustin or
Justin?
Justin? I'm sorry.
Yeah, basically, we just wanted to clarify if you would like us to reserve a spot in the parade and coordinate the seating and everything like that. And it sounds like that's a yes.
You're gonna put him in the bucket of the Michigan payload?
I don't know about that, but I'll see what I can do. So,
All right.
yep, we will coordinate that.
All right, thank you.
Bring a step ladder.
All right, any community pride announcements?
Yeah, I'd just like to congratulate all the 277 graduates from Willmar High School this past weekend, and all those, I'm not sure what the number is, from the Area Learning Center. And just, nice job, guys, and good luck going forward.
All right,
Okay.
Julie?
This isn't technically a community pride announcement, but I just wanted to announce that Leanne Freeman, a longtime City of Willmar employee with the Park and Rec and with the Community Center, passed away this week.
Thank you, Julie.
And this is a little premature, but what came up at the Vision 2040 meeting today is that this is the 7-year anniversary of building the destination playground, which is amazing that it, boy, time flies. But this is also then the repair year. So coming up this fall, after school has started, they're going to close down the park for about a week, and there's going to be a big effort to get volunteers that are going to be able to help repaint, replace some boards, and repair some of the things that need to get done at the destination playground. So we'll probably hear more about that in the future.
All right. Yes, Audrey?
Along with that, I had asked about buying, if they were still available to buy, and I was sent from the foundation to the city. And so I think if there is an opportunity for us, I was interested in purchasing a couple, but it might be a good opportunity to help raise some funds to buy those
Pickets.
And so I don't know, never got a complete answer with who at the city is responsible for that or how that money goes. But maybe we could work through that to do that.
So that was discussed today also, and so the Vision 2040 will be coming to the council with more information on the pickets as that comes forward. And so it's between Vision 2040 and the committee there, and then our Public Works Department. So We will have more information on that in the future. Not too far into the future, though.
All right. Anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We're adjourned.